Hello everyone, and this is Arpan Das Gupta, and today I will be talking about unsupervised module 7, lab 3, which is basically on matrix factorization and SVD. So, this last time we had talked about other unsupervised techniques called like k-means and k-means and hierarchical clustering. So now we will briefly go over matrix factorization and SVD. So why do we need matrix factorization is one question that might be on your mind. So basically, matrix factorization is kind of a technique where we decompose a larger matrix R into P and Q, two smaller matrices of lesser dimensions. So here, for example, if we have a matrix of size U star D, then we can divide it into two matrices which multiply to give back R as closely as possible, and these are of sizes U cross K and D cross K. So P into Q transpose would give us back the matrix R, at least a close approximation to it. And this is why is this useful is the first question. So that is basically due to the fact that this K represents some latent feature which is present in the matrix R, but is not depicted by it directly. So say we have K. So we will get to one good example which will demonstrate everything later. So hang on with that intuition soon. So matrix P represents this kind of a say matrix P represents the associations between a user and features, while the matrix Q represents the association between an item and the features. This multiplication will give us the prediction of a rating by a user for an item. So these features were actually hidden in this matrix R, but we can actually extract them if we divide the matrix R into two matrices. So this kind of an error term is what we will be using for matrix factorization. So for every term that is present in the matrix, we will randomly start with a P and Q, and we will see how far away we are from the actual value of Rij. So this is called, this kind of thing is this is the derivative which we will be using. So this is the code for matrix factorization. We are provided with the rating matrix, some randomly initialized P and Q. K is the number of latent features we want, the number of steps alpha and beta, where alpha is learning rate, beta is a regularization. So here we will basically calculate the error. We will perform this kind of a gradient update, and if the error is less than a certain value, we will break, otherwise we continue. So this happens for 5,000 iterations, and eventually we hope to converge. So here, for example, this kind of an R is what we need. And if we perform this kind of factorization, we will obtain this. This is the final estimated R from our from NP and NQ, which are the two matrices we divided into. So NP and NQ we can remultiply. We do P into Q transpose to obtain this approximation of R, which we will see is fairly close to the original values. And here note that basically for values which are 0, we ignore them. We consider these as missing values. So for example, uh, in a uh, user item rating, we will have times when the number of uh, values, uh, each user won't have rated every item, so we will have to leave some blank. So these zeros represent that, and the matrix factorization can be used for a very interesting purpose of basically, once we complete this matrix, we can estimate how each user will actually rate the items they haven't yet by finding the values at this point. So here we are estimating that this user would have rated this item 3.25. So yeah, that is the idea. So so now we will talk about SVD. So here we were decomposing into two matrices, P and Q. However, there is another way to do it, which is basically to perform singular value decomposition. So I am hoping you have seen what SVD is and how it works. Basically, the core idea is that we can divide a matrix A into three matrices U, S, and V transpose, where U is U is an orthogonal matrix which has in its rows, and V also is an orthogonal matrix in its rows, but transposing it gives it to columns, and S is a diagonal matrix. So the idea is that previously in our matrix factorization we needed to estimate the K, but there's no easy way to know how good the K is. So what we need to do instead is that we will be dividing these S will be our eigenvalues. S will contain our eigenvalues. We will sort S on the basis of the highest eigenvalues, and we will take eigenvalues above a certain threshold and cut off the rest of the matrix. So this this will allow us to intuitively actually find the K, because we are not actually worrying about the number, but we are seeing the importance of the eigenvalues and comparing. So yeah, so this will give us a clear representation of relationship between user and items. So yeah, that is the SVD example. In the project there's a good in the project there's a good movie recommender system based on SVD, which you must have seen. We will shortly talk about how we work with text in this module too. So this is called bag of words model. So how do we actually represent text as numbers which the computer can understand? So what we will be doing is we will create a vocabulary of all the words we have seen, and represent each sentence by a binary vector which tells us how many whether each of these words are present or not. It can be non-binary too. It can be like an integer vector which will tell us how many times each word has occurred. So this is called here we will take any sentences and create a vocabulary. Once we create the vocabulary, we will be able to create bag of words features for each sentence, which will tell us which of the words are present. So you can see correspondingly here, say that gray is a dull color, it will have ones at 1 1 0 1 1 1 1 5 1s 0 0. So yeah, that is what this is. And yeah, you can try this out with other other sentences. So another thing is latent semantic indexing. So here, yeah, there is a movie recommender thing here also, which we will talk about. So latent semantic indexing is uh, basically an use case of SVD, where we will use SVD on a matrix to decompose a matrix which basically represents the frequency of each word in the vocabulary in each sentence. So each sentence will represent a row, and the columns will represent each word. We will have the number of times each word occurs in a sentence as the value ij of the matrix. So this kind of uh, this kind of a matrix can be formed to and this kind of a matrix can be decomposed to give us more information. So yeah, that is the basic idea. We will have singular values matrix. Uh, we will try to estimate the original matrix, and we will obtain useful features. So this we will use GenSim, which is a useful library, and we will use this movies data set. So we will see that this kind of a text corpus basically has uh, these kinds of uh, movie uh, movie summaries. So this, we pre-process the text, we find the bag of words representations, and soon we will have uh, uh, yeah. So here we are using something called TF-IDF, but uh, that is not something very complex. TF-IDF is basically the number of it's a metric to represent how important a word is in a sentence and so on. So I guess you have encountered TF-IDF at some point. So the idea is that we've given a sentence, we will be able to find using LSI how close, what are the uh, other closest movies to the current one. So here it's not exactly movie recommendation, but it's like uh, which is the closest movie given this movie, and so on. So here we will perform LSI. We have performed LSI to form the matrix, and we will be able to use the index to find the closest. So here in the if we see this as the so this is the idea. So this is the summary for one of the examples, and we will see that this this is the score for each how close each of these movies is to the summary. So yeah, that is the idea, and you will be able to change this and see how whether you obtain the closest movies. Note that this is not the best movie recommended. These are the best models, so you might obtain some silly results. Yeah, that is it for this lab. Good luck.